and anybody that wasn't able to make it will have a copy of it as well. I call it the success switch, and you'll understand why I call it that way in a minute. SHIFCO is obviously a business growth community. That's our claim to fame. That's what we're really here to do. And what we found as part of it is it's not just business training that you need. You really need to work on mindset, confidence, and leadership as well. So this is a part of a program that we teach called Success Accelerator. And it's really about switching a part of your brain on in a way so that you can move through limiting beliefs more quickly. And you're going to walk out of here today with a very, very powerful tool. And I'm going to challenge you. It doesn't take very long to do it, but I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to give you a 7-day challenge just to see how much success you can create in a week, believe it or not, by switching this little switch in your brain. Incidentally, we do several events, typically three a month. On March 20th, we've got to meet the experts. And so we're bringing in our member number 3. Her name is Elizabeth Ice, and she's going to talk about how you use freelancers to grow your business. And then on March 26th, we have what we call Business Growth Power Hour, which is a really powerful tool that helps you break through obstacles really quickly. So that's our lineup. You can attend as many events as you want. They're free to the public, free to the community that we're growing. Obviously, our members get to take advantage of these as well, but we'd love to serve you as we go forward. My background, for those I don't know, is I took a company public in 1999 as part of it was an internet IPO on NASDAQ. And then 9/11 happened, and I exited that company, started my own consulting company. It was a growth strategy company. I sold it in early 2008. I sold it not because I knew the crash was coming, but because I felt like my soul was dying in my own business, as crazy as that is. And my commitment was I want to figure out how to make a difference and make money. That turned into a portfolio of companies. It's like a purposeful Shark Tank. And we have a speculator fund that invests in really cool, sustainable ideas like Your Izzy, which is the first zero waste makeup line. It's an amazing makeup line, but it's 100% zero waste, 100% recyclable. So we invest in things like that. We also have what we call the Cultivator, where we create our own companies. And I've, through the Cultivator with a great leadership team, I've created 5 companies. SHIFCO is number 5. So that's my background. And a lot of what that journey has been about my evolving as a leader and evolving in a particular way where I was able to tap into this little switch that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I would love for you to comment in the chat box as we go through this. But my first question is, do you think you have the power to change your life? So whatever your circumstances are, how confident are you that you have the power to change your life? And go ahead and put those in the drop box. I know we've got a couple of other people that are going to be joining here, but on command, if I said, hey, to take your life from point A to point B, do you think you have the power to change your life? So that's what we're really looking at here, is do you know how to access this power to create change in your life? And as you're looking at the chat box and you're seeing what other people are saying, I want to test that a little bit. So here's some common situations that we as entrepreneurs face. You lose your largest client. All right. So just think about that. We've probably all had that happen. You lose your largest client. What happens? Secondly, someone criticizes you and you feel that kind of anxiety welling up in you. You want to be defensive. Third scenario is you experience cash flow issues. What business hasn't experienced cash flow issues? So these are 3 situations to test that power. And the thing that I now want to ask you is, if you thought you had the power to change your life, when one of these situations happens, or pick another one, a relationship ends, pick anything you want, what happens to your thoughts when something happens that's unexpected, that you don't think you want, what happens to your thoughts. And just try to remember in the last month, when you got thrown a curveball of any type, what happened to your thoughts? Did you have control over your thoughts? One of the most common quotes is, to change your life, you have to know how to change your thoughts. Dr. Wayne Dyer said that. And he was able to tie together how our thinking creates change, either positively or negatively. So how do we understand this scenario? So from some brain research, I've been doing this brain research for 2 decades now. And most recently with this method that I'm going to be teaching you today, and had a test group that I worked with over the course of a month to see how fast we could get them to change their thoughts, to change their life, to change the way that things were working. So what we found in this 2 decades of research is there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala processes emotions and links them to old memories. So an example of that is maybe when we were a kid, we were standing at the chalkboard and we were doing a math problem. I'm saying chalkboard because I'm almost 60, and back then we used chalkboards. You're standing at the chalkboard and you're doing a math problem, you get it wrong, and everybody in the class laughs, and we feel embarrassed, we feel shame. And so what happens in the amygdala is it stores these old memories and it links them together with emotions. And this combination creates programs that the brain replays in current events. And it literally is like a program that's running you. And so my example of, I'm standing at the chalkboard, I get a math problem wrong, everybody laughs, and I say to myself, I'm not smart enough. And I feel shame. And I literally had this happen to me in 3rd grade. And I had all of this shame and anxiety, and I had this belief that was created, this program that was created, that I'm not smart enough. And to this day, I can remember that setting. I can picture the teacher. I can picture the people that were on the front row that were doing the most laughing. And I could picture the fact that I was just shaking. So the amygdala runs these programs. From our research, there's 5 that are very common negative programs. The one that I just mentioned, the most common, is I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. That program we found is in 99% of the people that we studied. They have a root memory connected to this program that I'm not enough. And so what happens is they spend their adult life trying to succeed, trying to be good enough. And anytime an event shows up that reflects back to them the fact that they might not be good enough, this program takes over and those same emotions come back, and the amygdala is now running us. I'm going to give you a couple more examples. And as we go through these examples, in about 5-10 minutes after this, I'm going to ask you to choose one of these programs, because we're going to try to reprogram it right here on this call today. So I'm not enough showed up in 99% of the people that we studied. The second one is, I call it the powerless program. I can't do math. I can't do this. I can't start a business. I can't figure out how to sell. I can't get along with so-and-so. I can't believe what you believe. I can't trust you. I can't work out. And so this is a powerless program. It showed up in about 38% of the people that we studied. This is a big one, by the way. We're finding this one more and more. I call it the Atlas program. I have to. So if somebody has this program, it's like Atlas, if you can picture Atlas putting the world on its back, and, oh, I have to make this happen. I have to hit this goal. I have to achieve this. I have to take the burden on. I have to be the breadwinner in my family. And so the Atlas program, we're seeing that in about 44% of the people that we're studying. It's, again, showing up more and more. Not sure why. I don't know why it's now showing up more and more, but it's becoming very common in the people we're studying. This one, a little less, it's about 28%. It's the here I go again. And this is the failure program. Oh, here I go again. I'm making a mistake. Oh, here I go again. I can't get it right. Here I go again, where we perceive that we're a failure and this program takes over. And then the fifth one is the imposter program. Who am I to think I can start a business? Who am I to think I could be a speaker? Who am I to think I could be a CEO? And this is called the imposter program from our research. About 27% of people had that. So these programs are stored in the amygdala part of our brain. And the reason why ShiftCo, a business coaching community, teaches our members about things like this is we want you to break through these negative programs so that you can grow your business. And we know that breaking through these negative programs, plus the business training that we do, are going to help you grow your business, right? So you've got to break these negative programs. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. And then I'm going to challenge you to do it for 7 days and see what happens. But again, I want you to think about the program that's running you. Now, the first time I experienced one of these programs consciously was when I was in college. And the situation was I went to Indiana University after growing up in a horrific environment, super poor, beaten and abused in every way possible. I escaped that environment by the skin of my teeth and got away, lived with some relatives, and went to college. And I flourished in college. When I got out of this negative environment, I was making great grades. I was studying to become a classroom teacher. I was in between my junior and senior year, but math and science were not my friends, right? And I did not have any confidence in myself in math or science. And I took the bare minimum. And there was one class in particular, was a chemistry class that you needed to graduate with an education degree. And everybody said, oh my God, this one professor is horrible. You know, don't take his class, you'll flunk out. And so I kept avoiding it. I kept avoiding it. So now it's my senior year. I have to have chemistry to graduate. I had like a 3.85 GPA, which is really good, and was on the dean's list and the chancellor's list, but I was avoiding this class. So sure enough, I take the class and I'm just shaken like a leaf, you know, when I walk in. And he's one of those professors. He says, you know, at the end of today's class, there's 100 students in here today. 40 of you will drop the class today. And within the next week, another 20. And then a week after that, 10 more will drop. Only 20 of the 100 will actually complete the class, because I love making education majors fail. I mean, literally, that was his day one introduction. So sure enough, the class ends. I close my book. I walk out. I'm headed to the registrar office, and I'm like, you got to give me another solution here. I can't do this. And that I'm not good enough. Man, both of those programs were running. That little broken girl in me was just telling ourselves all of these stories of how I couldn't do it. I can't do it. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. How I'm never going to graduate. And I had like a 3.85 GPA, but that program was running me. So I'm walking to the registrar's office, and about halfway there, I stopped. And I set my book bag down and I said, no, I am good enough. And I'm going to show that professor. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. And I took a right turn and I walked to the library. And as I was walking up the steps, like literally, I was picturing myself, you know, in a victory stance, like Rocky. I could picture myself doing it. I was feeling this power pump through my veins. And I didn't know how, I didn't know what the solution was. I just decided I was good enough and I was going to show him. And I was picturing it happen. And I was feeling this power. I was feeling the sense that I am smart enough. I can do it. I am good enough. And as I got to the top of the steps, I looked on the board, and like a little poke board where people put notes. And there was somebody that said chemistry tutor. And I'm like, cool, grab the phone number. Short story is I graduated, passed the class with an A-, And the last class, when he was handing out the grades, he literally gave me praise. I've never had an English major get an A minus, and I much less have never had an English education. I was English education, get an A minus. And Terri, you know, you did it, and I'm proud of you. And it was like, wow, like, you know, that was fodder. So I want us to go back to those moments for a second. Those moments where we have the ability to shift our thoughts, where we decide to make it happen, what % of the time are you doing that? And again, go back to those same scenarios. You lose your largest client, you have cash flow issues, somebody criticizes you. What percentage of the time are you able to catch and shift it? I want you to put that number in the chat. Maybe, Anne, you could be my assistant here and you could kind of call them out. What % of the time are you able to shift your thoughts from a disempowered story to an empowered story? So Anne, as those are coming in, you want to read a few of those out for me?
Do my best. We've got 70%, 70 to 80%, 50%, maybe more, 85%.
There's no right, no wrong.
Another 80%, 75%, 100%, 75%.
Perfect.
And
So as you're continuing to put those in there, I want you to think of the most recent memory where something happened you didn't expect, and you felt that I'm not good enough program, I can't program, whatever it is, the Atlas program kicking in, and you felt that thought pattern taking over, you felt the anxiety rising, and you shifted it, you know, where you said, no, I'm going to make this happen. So I want you to really kind of grab that moment for just a second. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to reflect and to find it. Really, really find it, because I want you to go back to the last memory you have where you consciously, purposefully flipped a switch that said, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer, or no, I'm not going to view this as criticism. I'm going to use it to help me. I'm going to view it as fuel. No, I'm not going to let cash flow issues scare me. I'm going to shift. Just allow that place to go there. I'm going to be silent for about 30 seconds so you can find it. And then we're going to deconstruct what was in that. Okay, so just think about that. Really get that setting in your mind. How did I do that? You know, for most of my life, I remembered that story of that chemistry teacher. And every time I would have a failure, or, you know, I didn't get the job I wanted, or when I became an entrepreneur 20 something years ago, we had cash flow issues, or I thought my business was going to fail, I would go back to that moment. I couldn't figure out what I was doing, but I could sort of kind of recreate it. Well, over the last 5 years, I have actually figured out how to recreate it. And that's what I'm calling the success switch. So here's the first part that you have to understand. The ability to switch your brain, in particular your brain, you need to activate 2 powers simultaneously. That's the key. Is there 2 powers that you're going to switch together? And I'm going to give you a method to show you how to do that in a minute. The first one is that you have the power to create what you want. So if you think about those of you that the number was higher, so above 70%, more than likely you have activated this power. So what I typically see when people can answer that question, 70% or above, they have had enough life experience. They know they have the power to create what they want, either in their professional career or in their entrepreneurial journey. So that's an important part of it. But the way to do it consistently is to also simultaneously activate the second power. And the second power is the power to change negative programs. and to do it instantaneous, which is really what this success switch method is going to show you how to do. What makes it work and makes it work so quickly and so effectively is it activates these two powers simultaneously. The power to create what you want with the power to change immediately a negative thought pattern. So that's what we're really going to be after here. Also, if you've ever seen this graphic, this image, it's one of my all-time favorites for how do you create success in your life. I'm going to show you how this maps to those two powers. Is when these two powers are present, when they're active in our life, we move out of the comfort zone. So I don't know if you've ever seen this. I did not create it, but I absolutely love it. And we move out of the comfort zone very quickly. But there's another part of it is when we tap into these two powers, not only do we move out of our comfort zone, but we actually move through the fear zone very, very quickly. And so I'm going to show you how to tap into that. So you can take a picture if you haven't seen this graphic. It's one of my favorites in terms of how do you create success in your life. But the key, by activating these two powers simultaneously, what happens is the faster you move through fear, the faster you'll move into the learning zone and you figure it out. So I want to go back to my example of this chemistry teacher. When I set that bag down and I had that moment of no, I'm not going to be afraid of this teacher. I need this class to graduate. I know that I can figure it out. I've passed the other classes. I've got a good GPA. There has to be a way. When you speed up the fear zone part, it basically affects the amygdala and it allows you to move quicker and you get to success. So that speeding up is a combination of combining a thought with an emotion with an image that I'm going to show you how to do. And that flips that switch. And that's what happened. So it wasn't just the thought where I said, no, I am going to do this. I activated this emotional rocky power, right? Mm-hmm. And I simultaneously had an image of myself on the stage, graduating with that university with honors, having passed this class. Those are the three ingredients that simultaneously activate these two powers, and now they become this power tool. So kind of coming back here to the amygdala, these 5 very common negative programs are in your amygdala. And I want you to pick one that is the one that you see running you the most. Doesn't matter what it is. If you want to drop it into the chat, you can, but don't try to do more than one. You might say, well, Terri, I have 3 of them, or I have 5 of them. I get it. When I started this research, I had all 5 of them. I probably had 50 of them. Not the point. I just want you to choose one because you're going to feel yourself change this one pattern. You're going to feel that switch flip. And then you're just going to practice it for 7 days and you will completely reprogram your brain. So I'm going to again wait for about 15 seconds. I want everybody to pick one. And you might want to shout out, if you can be my Vanna, my verbal Vanna, maybe shout out a couple that people are picking.
Terri, you don't even know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Vanna White. It's a true story. Because I was like, she's so glamorous, she's so poised, and the woman can spell. Okay, here we go. I'm happy to do it. We've got, looks like 4, 5, I am not enough. We've got a here I go again failure program. We've got a who am I to imposter program. And then someone is quoting Taylor Swift, saying, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Yeah.
Gotta love me some Taylor Swift. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to reprogram this, and we're going to walk through the steps, and we're going to do, there's 3 steps to activate. Remember, what we're doing is we're activating 2 powers simultaneously, the ability to know that you can create what you want with the ability to know that you can change your thoughts. Those 2 things happen together with these 3 steps. And if you're in the Shift community, you've heard a couple of these terms before, but I'm going to show you how to do them a little differently, particularly those of you that are in the Prosperity Challenge. I'm going to show you how to do them a little differently, and I want you to do them the way I'm showing you here, because it's slightly different and it's very important the way that I'm going to show you. So we're going to do them, each of the 3 steps separately, and then we're going to put it all together and you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that like a little bit as we do each step. But then when we put it all together, you're going to be like, whoa, you're going to feel the reprogramming occur. So what's happening is the amygdala is running that program that you just identified. The first step is to acknowledge. When you acknowledge the emotion under the program, the amygdala stops. Whatever the story, that program pattern is, it will stop altogether. And it will literally turn to the prefrontal cortex, another part of your brain that we'll talk about in a minute. And it will say, hey, not going to run the other program anymore. Basically, I need to stop. Give me new information. Give me new information. And it waits. So when you do this step, it's important that you pause. And so let's try it. So the way you do the first step is you say, the truth is, I feel, put yourself on mute because I want you to do this. So let's say I'm running the not good enough program. And so I would say, the truth is, I feel afraid, right? So I would say, you want to say it out loud. The truth is, I feel afraid. And then pause. And so everybody do that with me. I'm going to wait about 15 seconds. The truth is, I feel, and then pause and pay attention to that cycle in your brain. And you're going to see it shift from whatever gear it's in into neutral. So you notice how your brain is just slowed down. That's the amygdala shifting itself from whatever gear of this program is. It shifts into neutral. And it's like, oh, okay, you've acknowledged me. Now I need new information. It's the amygdala is the dumb part of our brain, right? So it needs to be programmed. And this, when you acknowledge the emotion under the program, it's like, oh, okay, you see me now. All right. It shifts itself into like neutral, and it waits for new information. Now, those of you that are doing the Prosperity Challenge, I call this awareness in the Prosperity Challenge, but I don't talk about the pause. If you want to reprogram your brain, if you want to use this step to reprogram your brain, the pause is really, really important. So when you say the truth is, I feel, before you do anything else, before you do breathing or anything else that we do in the Prosperity Challenge, you really need to pause like 30 seconds because you need the amygdala to stop running the program in order to give it a new program. So again, we're going to do the steps separately and then we're going to put it all together. So that's step 1. What has just happened is you've called on the amygdala by acknowledging the emotion under the program. The amygdala says, okay, you see my program. Now I'm just going to pause and I'm going to wait for new information. Now, the second part of this is, again, the amygdala is like the dumb part of our brain. It's like the hardware, hardware is dumb and software is smart. It's like the hardware part. So it's not very smart. Therefore it's easy to program. So what we need to do now is we need to activate the prefrontal cortex, which is another part of the brain, which regulates our thoughts and our actions and our emotions through these extensive connections with all the other brain regions. But we're going to activate it in a very certain way. Okay. So with step 1, all we've done is get the amygdala to stop running the program and shift into neutral. That's all we've done. And it's literally right now turning over to the prefrontal cortex and saying, okay, I need new information. What do you want me to run now? And before we put the new program in, we have to create a sticky environment for it. And here's what I mean by that. So the prefrontal cortex, one of its most important roles is it activates the nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. So the prefrontal cortex is the boss of the nervous system, and it is a key part of the programming. So step 2 is we're going to breathe in a very certain way so that at this very certain way, the prefrontal cortex will turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is our friend, and we need to activate the parasympathetic nervous system in a very distinct way. That when we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, it releases happiness chemicals, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes. The two in particular it will activate is dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine and serotonin will flood your entire body very quickly, but they also will saturate the amygdala, which makes it easier to program with a new empowering belief or a new empowering program. So the way that you do the breathe part is 4 breaths, and I want you to do it this way. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out of your mouth, and then you'll pause. You'll do it again. You're going to do it 4 times. And you're going to feel these happiness chemicals rush into your bloodstream, into your organs. And in particular, you're going to feel them rush into the amygdala. So let's do it together. Remember, we're doing the steps separately, and then we're going to put them all together. So 4 breaths in through your nose and out of your mouth. Now, right away, you're going to feel that. Like, whoa. Okay, breath number 2, in through your nose and out of your mouth. Right now, your parasympathetic nervous system is switched on, and these dopamine and serotonin are rushing into your bloodstream and slowly moving into the amygdala. Breath number 3. Might even feel a little lightheaded. That's typically when it's in the amygdala. And sometimes you can even do it really, really deep. Breath 4. Now you're going to notice this kind of, yeah, baby. That is saturation of the amygdala and your nervous system sending these happiness chemicals, these relaxing chemicals throughout your body. Really, really important. But the piece that's most important for the success switch to occur is for those chemicals to move into the amygdala, because it makes it soft and malleable. So whatever we put in step 3 is a program that is a new empowering belief. So that's step 2. Again, we're going to do the 3 steps separately, and in a minute, you're going to put it all together. So now step 3 is we're going to claim a new program, because the amygdala is now full of these chemicals. It's very programmable. It's waiting on new information. Prefrontal cortex, oh, send me some good juice. Yeah, great. Now, what do you want me to run? And it's literally waiting for the new program. When you claim your new program, you're going to do it with 3 components: a thought or a belief, an image, because the brain, the amygdala, responds to visuals. That's why those programs are attached to memories, because it remembers the image, and a powerful matching emotion. So I might say, I am powerful, I am successful, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but it's going to be an empowering thought that's the exact opposite of the negative program you've been running. And you're going to allow yourself to feel that emotion rise in your body, but you're going to picture yourself in some kind of victory stance. It could be, picturing a cash flow win. It could picture a client signing a contract. The image part of this is really important. You've got to have the new thought with an image, a visual image that you can see, and a matching emotion all at the same time. So you're going to claim it's like, I am powerful. And you're going to picture yourself in kind of that rocky stance, and you're going to feel yourself, really feeling powerful. It doesn't matter what your new claiming is. You're claiming a new empowered program with 3 elements: a new thought, like I am powerful, I am a champion; an image, a visual that you can literally smell and see and touch, and you can even change your body stance; and then an emotion to go with it. So try it. You can do it with an I am, or it doesn't have to be I am. I know a lot of people say it has to be I am. It can be, it doesn't have to be. But the goal is you want it to be the exact opposite of whatever the negative program is. So try that. And then we'll stop and we'll take some questions in about 30 seconds, and then we'll put it all together. Okay, questions about the 3 steps before we put them together, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the other chemicals that you can get working for you as well to make this faster, and then I'm going to give you an assignment and a challenge. Who has the first question?
I can kick it off, Terry. It's Ann.
Go for it.
How many times should you do this a day? Should be anytime you have a negative thought.
At least twice. So our research has found twice a day for 7 days, you can completely program that negative thought, that negative program that's running you twice a day for 7 days. But you can speed it up by every time you catch the negative thought doing it, and some of these other happiness chemicals that I'll mention in a minute. But the minimum quantity is twice a day for 7 days. You completely reprogram that story.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
Other questions? That was a great one. All right, let's go through the 3 steps again. And then I'm going to talk about the other happiness chemicals and how to bring them into the mix to speed it up. And then I'm going to give you your assignment and your challenge. So the first step is to acknowledge. When you acknowledge something, the truth is, I feel, it causes the amygdala to stop running the negative program, and it will wait for the prefrontal cortex to give it new direction. What's important to do is the phrase, the truth is, I feel, because the amygdala stores feelings with that particular old pattern, and the feelings that you have of inadequacy and imposter syndrome and all the stuff that we talked about, it stores those. So when we acknowledge that feeling, the amygdala stops. And it's important at the end, in addition to saying the truth is, I feel, it's important to pause before you move to step 2. People sometimes want to move through the 3 steps. It's really important to pause, and you'll feel the amygdala literally start to shift into neutral. So let's do the first step again. The truth is, I feel. Whatever comes up, comes up. Do it, and then pause. And you notice that coasting sensation. Once you have that coasting sensation, now you do the 4 breaths. In through the nose and out of the mouth 4 times. Breath 3. Breath 4. You'll notice kind of that lightheaded feeling. That's all those chemicals moving through your bloodstream and moving into the amygdala. And then you claim the new belief. I am successful. I can get a new client. Visualize it with images. Feel the feeling. 30 seconds, a minute max is all you really need for that new claiming. And boom, go about your day. So that's how the process works. That's the success switch. What's happening, and this has to do with the twice a day for 7 days. One of my favorite products is a product called Positive Intelligence, and Shifco has a partnership with them, and it really does work because it's about the neuroplasticity of the brain. But what they've proven is that in very short order, you can program your brain through neuroplasticity to believe new things. So this particular example is I'm going from I'm afraid to I can. And the turning on has to be those two elements that we talked about, where you begin to say, no, I have the power to create a new reality, and I have the power to change my thoughts. Well, what the positive intelligence found is it doesn't take that long to program if you do it consistently. For this success switch, what we found in our research, twice a day for 7 days, that was it. Somebody could completely eradicate one of those negative beliefs and completely reinstall a new belief. Now, the trick is you can't do more than one at one time. If you try to do multiple ones, because when you start doing this, a lot of these different programs are going to show themselves. Just pick one and work on one at a time, but it only takes twice a day for 7 days. You can do it more than that, but 7 days is what we found. Here's the steps again. Acknowledge. You have to stop the old negative program that's in the amygdala first. You're going to breathe 4 times to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system and add those happiness chemicals. And you're going to claim a new belief. 1 to 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Sometimes I just do it for 30 seconds. Visualize it, feel as if you have it, feel yourself there. The more you can be in the new belief and see things the way you want to be, the faster it works. But there's also this little toolkit. You might even want to take a picture of this. One of my other companies is called Succeed on Purpose, and it's a personal and career transformation platform. This was created by Dr. Elaine Dimby. And these are other things that you can do to activate different happiness chemicals. So dopamine, when you're doing this process, self-care, celebrating wins, completing a task, that's what they call the reward chemical. And so when one of the things I would advise to get more dopamine flowing through your system in a positive way is to put the success switch on your calendar as an appointment with yourself. I do this today, every day, every morning. I have a block, and every afternoon I have a block, and I do the success switch, and I'm reprogramming my brain. When you put it on your calendar, your brain thinks it's a task. And so what will happen is the more dopamine will flood in. Oxytocin is the love hormone. Play with your dog, play with the baby, hug your family, give a compliment. So another thing that I do in that little block is I send text messages and emails and tagging people with positive comments that activates. So in that same block, if you follow it up with giving someone a compliment or thanking someone, you put now an extra chemical in there. Serotonin, that walking in nature, swimming, cycling, the breathing that we do that the parasympathetic nervous system, that activates a lot of the serotonin. And then the endorphin is the painkiller. You can do some laughter. Sometimes if I'm having a really difficult day, I'll, in that 30-minute block while I'm doing the success switch, I'll just laugh, or I'll dance to some music or something like that. Laughter is the thing that works the best for me. It's hilarious. I'll just literally, after I do the success switch, I'll laugh, and then I'll do the success switch again in that 30-minute block. You can add any of these and it will work even faster and even more powerfully. So here's my challenge to you. I want you to take the 7-day success switch challenge. Don't believe me, don't believe my research. I want you to try it for yourself. Choose one limiting belief you want to change, one program you want to change from that list, or pick any other one that comes up. Just one. Do the success switch twice a day for 7 days, choosing a new empowering belief with images and programs, images and emotions to replace it. And again, the 3 steps are acknowledge, breathe, claim. And when you claim, it's got to be the new belief. It's got to be the visualization with really good images, and you have to have the feeling associated with it. 7-day challenge. Do it twice a day for 7 days. Put it on your calendar. And then if you do any of the other happiness chemicals, laughter, listening to some music, and you add some of the other happiness chemicals, walking outside. So you could do the success challenge outside. When the weather's nice, you'll supercharge the energy. So that's how it works. And I will stop the recording here in a minute, and we'll take some additional questions, but you're welcome to join any of our events anytime, whether you're a member or not. If you're ever interested in becoming a member, anybody on our team will be happy to give you a demo and happy to share with you why our members have as much success as they do. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll see if there are any